I'm going to actually talk to you about some things that people don't typically tell you. Colleges and universities don't typically tell you. Hey everybody, again, welcome back to my channel. This is Ashish Fernando, your global survival guide. And before I move forward, you know the ritual. Like, share and subscribe my channel and help out students and friends of yours around, and also parents. Of course, nowadays I'm getting a lot of feedback from parents on what are the next set of videos that I should do. And today the topic I've picked is the top 5 things that universities don't tell you regarding your admissions application. So if you're interested, if you're applying for yourself, your kids or your friends or someone else, this is something you really don't want to miss, so hang in there. Now, before you get started, this is an interesting start. So I searched on Amazon, I just put how to get admission to a university or a college. So there's probably tens of thousands of books on how to get admitted to a college or university, right? I know it gets a little daunting, and a lot of the books, this is just my personal opinion, a lot of the books and a lot of the videos and people out there, they're always talking about how to get your GRE score, your GMAT score, your SAT score, your TOEFL scores, and build the best essays and statements of purpose. But I'm going to actually talk to you about some things that people don't typically tell you. Colleges and universities don't typically tell you, right? And nothing against those institutions. I mean, they're doing their job. They get thousands and thousands of applications. So think of it, go in their shoes and think about it. There needs to be a better way than just saying, okay, I'm going to look at SAT scores and GMAT scores, right? So a lot of institutions do a few things differently, and we're going to talk about those here. All right, so before we get started, just make sure you know that this is my personal opinion. So from years of helping students and helping parents and advising applicants to apply to the US, to Canada, also working with admissions offices at institutions, this is just a compilation of what I feel is not told, right? There's the usual things that are told on your SAT scores and all of that stuff, but there are some things that are untold, which actually are more psychological as well, and some things that universities care about. And this is what it is. So if you're a student, if you're a parent, if you're a consultant or an advisor to a student, this may help you think about the nuances of building the perfect application. Now, the number one thing that institutions don't tell you is that what matters the most is of course, your profile and how you look on paper, but also how much revenue, how much tuition dollars you're going to generate for the school. It may not be just tuition, it's basically the dollars that you will generate for the school, right? Because they have to run the campus, they have to fund your education, they have to fund the lights that go on in your classroom, the air conditioning, the roads in the university. There's a lot of things. So in the end, what matters to them is, yes, we are giving our knowledge to this student. We are giving all of our professors' skills and everything that we have and technology to this student. In terms of revenue, in terms of tuition, what are we getting back, right? So that's important. Now, a lot of you might say, hey, Ashish, but you got 100% scholarship, which means you generated no tuition for the school. So then how does that work? Great question, guys. Now, there are a few things you got to think about when it comes to tuition, right? A lot of schools will give you scholarships as well. And some of you might be lucky enough, like I was, to get 100% scholarship. But what's important is not just the revenue, the dollars or whatever the local currency is you generate out of your tuition that you pay, but also what's the future potential of you as a student. That's also very important, right? See, today, I am in the admission space. I advocate students to join certain institutions. And do I advocate people to join Bentley? Of course, yes, because I got a lot of value out of Bentley. Yes, of course, the scholarships and all of that was there. But Bentley is a great school. I really love Bentley. And so I talk to people about it. So when schools think of revenue or dollars, they're not just thinking tuition, they're thinking of high level, what can this student accomplish for our institution, right? So that's number one. So make sure when you think about scholarships and when you go to a school and say, I need scholarship, it's also important to tell them why you need the scholarship and how you are a reason more students will come to that school. You will build a brand for that school. That brings me to the second point that institutions don't tell you about, and that is reputation. A school's reputation is really, really important, and it shows off in a lot of places. It shows off in number one, rankings. So you have national rankings, like in the US, you have the US News ranking, you have the Forbes ranking, the Times Higher Ed ranking, you name it, there's so many rankings. And then there's the global rankings, right? And like for instance, the Shanghai rankings or the QS global rankings. There's a lot of global rankings where the school fits in. And that is very, very important for the school. But why am I talking about it? Well, the reason I'm talking about it is because when they look at your application, they're going to look at whether you fit into the reputation of the school. Okay, that's very important. So what do you mean by whether I fit into the reputation, Ashish? I'm just a different person. Yes and no. So the reputation of a school is basically how many students get accepted and rejected every year, how good is the school with respect to the quality of education. Therefore, the more the quality of education, the more rejections, right? The acceptance rate will go lower and lower. That's why you see the tier 1 schools, they have an acceptance rate in the single digits, like some MITs and Harvards will have 4% and 5% acceptance rate. That's because they say we're going to give higher quality education, our reputation is going to go higher, our ranking is going to go higher, therefore more students are going to apply, therefore we're going to reject more people. So think about it, right? It's very important of how you fit in. So yeah, you definitely need to have higher SAT, GRE, GMAT scores. You got to have a high English test score. But in the end, you should also fit the reputation and the brand of the school. And that's very important. That's where I tell a lot of parents and students, don't try to over present your profile. You don't have to be the best at everything in the world, right? So for instance, there are institutions which will sometimes accept students just based on athletics, just because they're good at some sport and they may have a bad score. But in the end, they are helping increase the brand and the reputation of the school, right? So they might get an admit and you'll be wondering sitting there, I did everything right. I got a decent GMAT score. I did a bunch of social activities. I joined an NGO. I got good English test scores. How come this guy, my friend, he got very low scores, but the only thing he's good at is soccer. He plays for the national team, but his SAT or his GRE scores are really bad. Well, he got in because he will add to the reputation of the school being an athlete. So think about it. That's the second thing that schools don't tell you about, that it's beyond all of the documents that you submit. It's also certain things that will help the reputation and the brand. So in everything that you talk about in your application, do highlight how you will increase the reputation of the school, right? Okay, so the number three item that institutions don't really talk about or tell you about is that it's metrics over documentation. How? What do I mean by that? So metrics are nothing but your scores, your SAT score, your undergraduate GPA if you're applying for a master's program, your high school GPA if you're applying for a bachelor's program, and similarly. So basically take the last class that you attended, the last level that you attended, and the CGPA of that, right? Your SAT, GRE, GMAT, basically your qualifying examination score, your English test score. These are things that universities will use to filter out in a lot of cases, okay? So yes, If you talk to an admissions officer, if you talk to somebody at the university, they're going to say, no, we do want to look at your entire application. And they're right. They do want to look at everything. They want to look at your essay. They want to look at, okay, what have you done outside of your test scores? Have you invented something? Do you have a patent on your name? But do they have the time to do this? Especially if you're applying to some of the top tier schools, like for instance, Pennsylvania State, they get 14,000 applications a year. Do you think it's even feasible to have people sitting in a room looking at every little detail of 14,000 applications? Not really. So even though admissions offices will say they want to look at your overall profile, you want to focus on some metrics, because those numbers will be the first filter or the first filtration criteria for you versus all of your competition, which is other students who are applying with you. So pay careful attention, especially all the students and parents who call me and say, Ashish, this school is really not asking for a GRE. They're okay if we ask for a GRE waiver. Well, they're going to be okay with the GRE waiver, but if you had given your GRE and you had a good score in the top 5th or the 10th percentile, it would have really bumped up your application. So why let go of that chance? So think about it carefully. All your documentation, your resumes and your transcripts and your essays and everything, your statement of purpose, you've written the best statement of purpose on why you want to study at this school and why it's so important to you. Sometimes they may not even read it just because they said, okay, I have so many applications and a lot of them have a GMAT score above 700. I'll ignore this person who says he's not even given his GMAT. Happens all the time. So why take the risk, okay? So make sure that you understand that nuance, right? You might have people around you saying, it's okay, just, reduce the burden of the metrics. That's what I call them, the metrics, the numbers. But go for the numbers, okay? And if you give a GMAT and you end up getting a really bad score, I don't know what bad is for you guys, you know yourselves better. But like for me, even a 650 would have been like, I feel it's bad. I wanted 700. So depends. If you feel that your score is not something you were looking out for, it's okay to skip it. But otherwise, metrics over documentation. Okay, remember that universities don't really tell you that, but that's the bottom line. Okay, so item number 4 that universities don't tell you about. They're not looking for a well-rounded student. Bam. What is Ashish talking about? Yes. The truth is, typically, no university is looking for a well-rounded, I'm making a square, a well-rounded student. What universities are looking for is a well-rounded class or a cohort or a batch of students, okay? So they're looking for a class of students where a few of you are really good athletes, you're good at sports, a few of you are really good at business skills, presentation, you pump up the classroom, a few of you are geeks who are just focused, especially if it's a computer science program, you have a background in machine learning and artificial intelligence and you've done all these great things in life. And some of you might be just great speakers, great orators, just it depends. So universities, especially if you're looking at business programs, they're looking for a well-rounded class, not a well-rounded student, okay? So why am I saying this? Nobody's gonna tell you this, right? Of course, they will always want to say, yeah, we're looking for a well-rounded profile. But say you are really, really good at technology, okay? And you're applying in round 2 of the admissions process. And in round 1, they've selected a bunch of technology people. And you're good at technology, and you're also good at a lot of other things, but not so much. But technology is your forte. You may have the best scores, but you may not make it to that business cohort just because they already have people like you, right? So it's important, and you have to think, especially parents who are thinking of, for your kids 2 or 3 years down the line, or students who are listening to this right now and who are saying, I'm going to make my profile look brilliant and everything. Don't try to do everything. Don't try to say, okay, I'm going to have good scores. I'm going to study the hell out of my GMAT, GRE or SAT. I'm going to go do extracurricular. I'm going to join an NGO. I'm going to be good at sport. I'm going to be good at one instrument. I'm going to play it well. And only then I'm going to apply to Harvard or MIT or whichever school. Don't do that. It's not important. It's not necessary. And you're never going to be able to predict how the classroom looks right now. Every year is different, okay? So some of this here is also luck. Okay, and people are not going to tell you this. Okay, you go to any consultant and you talk to them and they're going to say, yeah, let's build your profile, let's make it the best ever possible. Some of it nobody can predict. It depends on, by the time you apply or within your round or in the previous round of admissions, are there a lot of people who have a similar profile as you? If not, sometimes you could actually have a really low GMAT score, but because of some other aspects of your profile, provided you've gone through the metrics phase, right, where you've checked boxes on the scores and you've qualified, you might be doing something that's so different that even with a low score on one of your exams, you will make it because you're going to add value to that class. People don't tell you this, but think of that one or two things that you are really good at. Focus on those in your application. Plus, of course, to my previous point, make sure that you have the metrics right, okay? Because after metrics comes this, okay? Now, the fifth, and for me, I think the most important thing that colleges don't tell you about is that even colleges are competing for you, okay? So say you've checked boxes 1, 2, 3, 4. You can exhibit how you can serve the institution monetarily from tuition fees or in the future. You've given all the right metrics to them. You've given a well-rounded profile that fits the class, not just you. So you say you've done all of this. You also show them how you're going to fit the reputation and the brand of the school. The fifth and most important thing that they don't tell you about is that they are competing with another school for you. So what is most important is don't stop at saying I'm only going to apply to 1 or 2 institutions. Don't have that ego in yourself. Okay, you might have the best scores, you might have everything great, but if you only apply to 1 or 2, chances of you getting maybe one school is great. Yeah, you'll get the one school, but chances of you having the ability to hassle on your scholarships and other things is going to be lower. So if you apply and you get admits to multiple institutions, especially if those institutions are competing with each other, always remember that institutions, the education field, everybody plays nice, right? So all the institutions are more like friends and family to each other, but also there is an undercurrent, right? So of course, if you're applying to Carnegie Mellon and to MIT for your computer science degree, and you are a really good student of computer science, both institutions want you, right? So yeah, they're friends with each other, but they're going to do whatever it takes to grab you, right? And in that process of them trying to grab you, you will be the winner because now you can say, hey, Carnegie, great, I get it. You've given me an admit and you really want me there, but MIT gave me a 50% scholarship. I really want to go to Carnegie Mellon because I like so-and-so professor, or I like the region where Carnegie is located, or I want to be in Boston, I want to go to MIT. But I cannot because, money, I'm also thinking about my finances and it's going to really help me, that scholarship. And you might be surprised, the other school will say, okay, we'll match the scholarship or we'll give you more scholarship. Very important. So keep in mind, apply to a few, at least apply to 6. At iSchoolConnect, that's where I work. I lead the organization. We have a team of 100 people. We have a lot of counselors, right? And we always train our counselors, and we always, when we talk about all this, we always say at least apply to 6 schools, right? Split it as your dream, reach, and safe options, but apply to 6. Safe, of course, there's a more chance that you'll get it, but you may not go there. At the minimum, what you can do is use that safe school to then haggle with some of the other schools, right? There's a lot you can do. So these are tips you're getting from my YouTube video for free. A lot of people will charge money and not even say these things, right? But as you know, I am your guide, and I want to let you know what are those important little nuances that will help you get your dream admit. Okay, so if you have any questions, you have any feedback, or you did not like certain things I said here, or you're wondering how is that even possible, please leave your comments. I will definitely try my best to answer those questions. And always remember, everybody's going to give you advice. Books on Amazon and the 20 million people out there, plus of course your family, everybody's going to give you advice. In the end, you have to just talk to yourself. You have to know what's right for you. I know it's a stressful decision for you, for your parents, but you have to understand what matters to you the most. Sometimes money or scholarships is not everything, right? It's also the brand of the institution. Sometimes brand is not everything for people who don't have the money and who have to take a bank loan. So sometimes just try and balance it out. It's not about having everything right, okay? Just understand the nuances of the admissions process. Good luck with everything you're doing, people. And I hope to do a few more videos in the next, let's say, a month or so. I'm going to launch a bunch of videos, but all of you students who've emailed me, who've put messages on social that you've got your admit for 2021, congratulations. You have actually overcome a lot of things, including the pandemic, and you've decided to take the risk. Trust me, it will pay off, okay? And good luck to all of you who are applying for your future admissions. If you have any questions, like I said, please post it here, and do like, share, and subscribe to my videos, and you'll hear more from me shortly. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.